Hey, what's going on, everyone? Romeo here. In this video, I want to attempt to provide full transparency on all the time that I put in to learn Spanish and to get to the level where I am now, which I would say is a confident level of understanding and comprehending. I can communicate in Spanish the things that I want to say, but it's still limited by the vocabulary that I don't know. For example, if I go into a doctor's office and start trying to have a conversation about, let's say, colonoscopy, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I have the confidence and the ability to speak the language. Now, ultimately, all of this that I'm about to explain in some form or another got me to where I am. And I wouldn't be able to put my finger on exactly like what it is that did this versus did another thing. But it allowed me to conclude ultimately that if I wanted to get to where I currently am, all I would have had to do is essentially do what I suggest that others do today, which is go through the resources that I put out in the How to Learn Spanish in 1 Year video and just repeat those resources. So anyway, another reason why I wanted to put this together is because it allows me to communicate to you my ideas and why I feel so strongly about the ideas that I feel when I come across videos that tell you that all you have to do is do a certain thing to become fluent in Spanish, with the idea that their fluency mean that you're going to become a native level speaker for the most part. And that's why I can critique programs such as Dreaming Spanish that says all you have to do for 600 hours is listen to the language without speaking and so on. So anyway, in an attempt to full transparency, here's my story. And I'm going to dig into each of these things in separate videos because otherwise this video will be way too long. Here's my background of Spanish. I think the first time that I had a background of Spanish or started learning Spanish was like in 6th grade or 8th grade. I don't even know how long the program was. I think it was like a 6-week program where it just introduced the sounds of the language by teaching me the alphabet, A, B, C, H, A, D, H, A, F, A, H, something like that. For some strange reason, learning it at that time like allowed me to kind of hold on to the Spanish alphabet. After that, instead of taking Spanish in high school, I took Latin for whatever reason, like a language that people don't even speak. But I took Latin in high school, and I remember my best friend actually took Spanish, and I was kind of upset because my girlfriend in high school, my first girlfriend, she was Puerto Rican and she spoke Spanish, and that's when I was like, man, I wish I spoke the language. But she spoke English and she spoke Spanish, but I would hear her speak Spanish to her friends, and that kind of like got me my initial interest. But after that, no high school Spanish, and then I went off to the military. And later in the military, I went to college, and I went to LSU. And in LSU, I took first year, 1 year of Spanish. It wasn't conversational Spanish; it was textbook Spanish, and so it was the traditional. Here's the textbook. Learn these words. There was no speaking practice or anything like that. So I guess I don't remember any of the words that I remembered or saw. But I did very well in that 1 year of Spanish. Maybe it was 2 years. I don't know. But it was a standard curriculum of foreign language that is required in the college education system. So after that, I didn't really touch Spanish for quite some time. The next time I think I picked up Spanish or attempted to learn Spanish was maybe 6 years or 7 years later. Let me see. Yep, when I was 30 years old. I'm in my 40s now. When I was 30 years old, and my attempt to learn Spanish at that time was when I picked up Madrigal's Magic Key to Spanish. I went through that book. And then I think at the same time, that's when I learned about Destinos. And I watched the entire 52 episodes of Destinos at that time. And I believe I watched the subtitles. I don't remember. But I did that for about a year before I eventually gave up and stopped studying Spanish. So that was like the precursor to like where I'm at right now. For whatever reason, I know the reason. Once I retired from the military in 2020, um, and I picked up another job, I had a lot more time to do things that I enjoyed. Spanish wasn't one of those things at that time, but eventually, fast forward to 2023, I had my first trip to Colombia coming up, right? And I wanted to go to Colombia, the country. It was a 13 or I forget how long, but if you go to my channel, Well Traveled Romeo, my YouTube channel, Well Traveled Romeo, if you go on that channel, then you will see like I recorded my time in Colombia. So I wanted to prepare for my time in Colombia to speak Spanish. Now, what's not so at that time, I wanted to go back to what I knew before, which was Madrigal's Magic Key to Spanish. And so before going to Colombia, I purchased the book again, Madrigal's Magic Key to Spanish. I picked it up, and every day, starting in, I believe, August 2023, I knew I wanted to get through the entire book before I had my trip in September. And I went through the entire book, chapter by chapter, like one chapter a day. It's pretty easy to do. It takes 15 to 30 minutes, one chapter a day. And I picked up what I picked up in that 30 days. It was effective. And if you go back to my video that says, hey, why you shouldn't use Madrigal, it's because of like what I learned in Colombia. I ultimately learned that like Madrigal didn't teach the things that I wanted to know as far as like communicating with my peers. So anyway, so now all that said, it starts on the spreadsheet. So I'm a person that says that if I can't measure it, if I can't track it, then I don't know what I did, right? And so one of the things that I do and recommend other people to do is like whatever you're studying, like break that down into small, manageable chunks. And so in 2023, I start tracking everything that I studied. And it just turns out to be great because now I could explain it to you. And why I can say that like people will say, all you have to do is take in comprehensible input and eventually get to some place. Like I can say that it's not as simple as they would want you to believe. But anyway, so let's start going through this sheet, and I'm going, for the sake of time, I'm going to go through this sheet as quickly as I can and hit on some of the things. So I already said in August 2023, I picked up Madrigal. And this spreadsheet that's on the screen right now is my tracker for 2023 and all of 2024, all the Spanish studying that I tracked, that I tracked in 2023 and 2024. So let's go through it. So in August 2023, I started with Madrigal. It's not on the spreadsheet right here, but what you will see is starting in 2023, the first program that I picked up was Fluenz. So Fluenz, if you don't know what Fluenz is it has 5 levels of Spanish, and I went through all 5. I went through all 5 levels of Fluenz. This was after Madrigal. Fluenz, I went through it, and I started it in September. No, what's that? August, September, and then I picked it up at the end of 2023. So at this point, I had already studied Madrigal. I went to Colombia for that 13 or 14 days. That was in September. And then me and my wife moved to Colombia for 2 months. We lived in Colombia for 2 months, and each morning while I was there, I was doing Fluenz and a few other programs that I'm going to get into. So Fluenz went from December to June. I'm not going to get into the individual program because it will be way too long to do this video. I did Fluenz. While I was doing Fluenz, which essentially was listening to the author explain components of the language, giving you exercises and other things like that. While I went to during the afternoons, I went to the gym. And when I was in the gym and walking to the gym or walking around Colombia for the first 2 months, I was listening to Pimsleur's recordings. And Pimsleur, again, they say the same thing, just listen your way to fluency. I could tell you that even though I did a lot of listening in Fluenz, in Pimsleur, I can't put my finger on any specific phrase that I learned, because Pimsleur is one of those programs where they tell you a sentence. They don't really explain the grammar of it, but they tell you a sentence. They introduce a sentence or a phrase, and you just have to repeat what you learned. So I did Pimsleur listening. Once I completed all 5 levels of Pimsleur, for all 5 levels of Pimsleur, I replaced that studying or that listening to learn Spanish with Learn Spanish Like Crazy. There was also 5 levels of Learn Spanish Like Crazy, but I believe eventually I stopped at level 2. I did just the first 2. They were 30 minutes each, and I listened to those. Around that same time in 2024 is when I picked up Complete Spanish Step by Step, and I went through it the first time. All right, if you see, here's the date here. I picked it up in May, and I went through it all the way until September 2024. Okay, so far I did Pimsleur listening, I did Learn Spanish Like Crazy listening, I did what else? I did the Fluenz interactive program on the computer, and I did Complete Spanish Step by Step. But I believe if I go here even deeper, all right, because all of this is on this tab. So here's SpanishDictionary.com. They have like a program. If you go there, they have like this little program, Spanish Dictionary. If you go there, that you can go to this Learn Spanish program. For a bit, I did some of this stuff, but similar to Duolingo, it just didn't stick. It's like you get so focused on just getting to the next check mark that I guess you don't remember it all. So anyway, go back to 2024. Here's Spanish Dictionary, what I did there. But then I picked up Destinos again. So as you can see here, this was, going back in 2024. I guess I was doing this at the same time. I was doing this at the same time that I was using Fluenz, finishing out Fluenz. Here is when I picked up Destinos the first time. So I was reading the transcript, the video script of Destinos. So that's reading. Here's the 30-minute episode. And then I will watch the episode, read the transcript, watch the episode. I also did another stint where I read the transcript, watched the episode, but then integrated the textbook exercises and started doing the workbook exercises with Destinos. And then I was like, this is pretty cool. But I stopped, I guess, in October. And then the next time I was like, okay, well, these workbook exercises are way too much. It's like this is not very concise. Yes, it's a lot of information. Yes, the material is good, but it needs to be concise. And I started picked up Destinos, and then I went through, I guess, I stopped doing the workbook exercises, and I said, okay, I'm going to finish it out because I'm a completionist. And instead of doing these workbook exercises, I'm just going to read the transcript, and then I'm going to watch the episode. And that's how I finished out Destinos in 2024. At some point, I picked up the Spanish pronouns book in October 2024. because what I realized is that the Spanish pronouns, or the use of the indirect and direct pronouns, and specifically the double object pronouns, it's different than the way we talk in English. And so when you hear it and when you speak it, it's totally different. And I know pronouns is a strong way to understand, to talk more fluidly, right? So instead of always using a noun to say, I gave it to Andy, you want to be able to say, I gave it to him. And so pronouns is one of those things that allow you to do that. So I picked up the Spanish pronoun book, and it was a great book. And I think it was so good that after going through it from October to November, I went through it again in November to December. So I used that book twice. Then I think at some point, I guess in December, I was like, I want to read the Destinos video transcript again. And I finished out December of 2024, for whatever reason, reading out the video transcript of Destinos. But it doesn't appear that I was also watching Destinos. So that's 2024 in a nutshell. That's all the Spanish that I did in 2024, all tracked. And if I were to count the hours, it's very likely like 900 hours plus, right? Anyway, so that's 2024. Now let's fast forward to 2025. Fast forward to 2025, this year is this sheet. And in this year, I started, let me see, this was the year, I believe this was the year I started reading. I believe so, but I don't see it. Let me see. Leer en español. En español. I don't see it. So I guess I started with level 2. Okay. So anyway, at the end of 2024, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like something I would do. Start with level 2. En español. I guess so. I guess I started reading with level 2. These are graded readers, the Leer en Español series. And again, I will have a separate video sometime in the future that explains what these graded readers are. But if you can see, just starting on this tab here, these are all the books I read in 2025. Graded readers, going from the intro level all the way up until I stopped this year at level 4 with this book, and didn't get into level 5 or level 6 because, quite frankly, I was like, I'm tired of reading books. For these, once they got into level 4, I was tired of reading books that were written in like the 1600s. I was like, that's not fun anymore. So I stopped reading. But anyway, here's all the books that I read in 2025. Now, going back in 2025, going back in this tab, what else did I do in 2025? Espanol C is a video series that you can find on YouTube. And that had, let me see, almost 76 episodes of 30 minutes each that taught the Spanish language, as well as had a mini series built in it, similar to Destinos. Then I picked up Complete Spanish Step by Step again, because I realized that although Destinos was a great program, or is a good program, as far as the listening component and watching the series goes, I realized that the textbook and the workbook, like, I didn't need any of that, because it wasn't as concise as what I had learned in Complete Spanish Step by Step. That was that point where I realized that if all I did were to just focus on the core concepts of the language that were taught in Complete Spanish Step by Step, that's all I really need to do. I just need to focus on that, because I need to master Spanish grammar so that I could be more confident saying the things that I want. Didn't get me faster, but it got me a little faster, but I will be more confident. I will have more confidence speaking the things that I wanted to say when I wanted to say it, because I knew that when I said he speaks, like I conjugated it correctly. And that's what Complete Spanish Step by Step did. So I picked up Complete Spanish Step by Step at the beginning of this year, the first time. And then after I finished it in March of 2025, at some point I started doing these Spanish readings of 180 days. It's another series. Again, I'll go through it at some point. But I was reading, and then Complete Step by Step, I picked it up again after I completed it the first time. I also, once I went through Complete Step by Step the second time in this year, it says, I have a note here that says go to chapter 9 and 10, 9, 10, and 11 in the Spanish pronoun book. So again, so I can reacclimate myself to the Spanish pronouns. That was after I went through the reflexive verbs. And then I picked up the Spanish pronouns, just went through these chapters so I could focus again on the direct objects, indirect, reflexive verbs, double object verbs. I started reading the stories in Spanish short stories. And then eventually I picked up Complete Spanish Step by Step again from May to July. And then again, here's more. Oh, maybe I did pick up Destinos again. I picked up Destinos again. I did some Complete Spanish Step by Step vocab. I went through and then when I got confused, I guess I went through Complete Grammar, a couple of chapters in Complete Grammar, Complete Spanish Grammar, which is another book I kind of say don't start with. I tried to learn Spanish like crazy again, but at this point I realized it was just too basic, because I guess my comprehension was very strong at this point. Let me see. Back in August, I made some flashcards out of the vocabulary that was in Destinos, and I was just listening to those as I was driving every day. I already went through this tab. These are all the books that I read. And so where am I at now? Ultimately, I finished Complete Spanish Step by Step for the third time in 2025. And as you know now, if you're following this channel, I am going through Complete Spanish Step by Step. And I am saying the Spanish, I've converted the Spanish exercises into English, and I am taking those English exercises and I am speaking them out loud back into Spanish. And even though I'm doing that, it's still a bit of a struggle when I am using the direct object pronouns. So what's the point of saying all this and explaining all of this and being totally transparent about like what I do and the importance of this chapter? I mean, the importance of this video, the importance of this channel. The first thing I want to point out is that I want to be transparent about my studies in Spanish, because for me, it's very important to be able to say, like, if you are serious about learning Spanish, like, it is a grind. It varies. It's going to vary for different people, like how you learn, how fast you learn, how much you remember, like I said in a previous video that I put out there. But it's a lot. And you have to be motivated to like want to do this, because you can easily get discouraged, even to the point where today, if I'm talking to my barber, I don't understand a lot that he is saying because he speaks with slurred language. He uses phrases that I still haven't run across. There's a lot of stuff that I still don't understand. So this journey is an ongoing journey. And although I'm confident when I speak, I'm not speaking as fast as I want to speak. And I have like all of that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is like, I don't want to edit my videos. Even this video right here, I know I have a bunch of ums and ahs and thinking and things. I don't want to edit it because I want people to see, first of all, how I speak in English and like how they can actually like, and how I speak in Spanish, and realize like, hey, he probably speaks about the same. So there are some people who speak Spanish much faster than I speak, and they speak Spanish and they speak English much faster than I speak even in English. So it's like, it is for me a one-to-one. When you hear me speaking Spanish, like you're gonna hear how I speak in English. um, but most importantly, the reason why I don't want to edit anything is because it's so easy for me to script out this video, for example, and just read from the script, cut out the ums and ahs if I wanted this video to be in Spanish, and fake that I speak much faster than I do. And the purpose of faking it will be to tell you, well, you should follow me because I'm so good. But I don't want you to follow me because I'm so good. I want you to follow me because I am transparent in everything that I did to learn Spanish, the struggles that I have to learn Spanish, and eventually follow my progress that I'm going to be where I want to be, which is sometime in the future, at some point, much more fluent than I am now. Can't put my finger on what that means, but it's a journey. And ultimately, this channel is really for me as I share my progress so that I can look back a few years from now to be proud at how far I've come and how far the channel has grown when people who follow me have an understanding of how hard this game of learning a second language can be, and appreciated how transparent I was in my process to get to where I will be sometime in the future. So anyway, I hope this video helps. It's a good jumping off point or starting point for me to dig into each of the details of these things sometime in the future. So I know this is a long video, but I hope you enjoyed my transparency. If you did, give me a like. If you think I'm just not very smart, tell me that too, whatever. But whatever your thoughts is, send me a comment, give me a like, give me a dislike, doesn't matter to me. I'll just leave you with the struggle is real. And until the next video, peace.